everyone, welcome back. It's Christine again with the Artist Pod, and today we're doing part 3 of the German Landsknecht cat. So today we're drawing the sword. Specifically, it's a Zweihander. Zweihanders are just giant two-handed swords. As always, I'm using a Wacom Intuos Pro tablet, and I'm drawing straight into Photoshop. So, let's get arting. Here is the German Landsknecht cat. Now, I didn't sketch the grip here very straight, and I'm aware of that. So we're just going to come straight down as we go, because I know I've done it. Now we only see it above the paw here. Yeah, fine. Okay, just like the belt, pretty straightforward. They're just straight. Let's do the sword first. That's this color down here, this sort of silvery color. Cross guard, the ring guards, and the blade itself are all going to be, and the pommel, all going to be in that. And it's a sword, so it'll be nice and bright and shiny on the metal. And the ring guard. Unlike fur, the sword is much more rigidly straight, so less room for going off the rails. And then the blade itself. Even if it's a little wobbly, it should be alright. Unless I decide it looks ridiculous, too wobbly or something, but it should be alright. Alright. So that's nice and quick. And we can pop off. His tail kind of looks like a tiger. I guess that's what tabbies are. They're like mini tigers. So we have that coming down, and then we taper that up. And same on the other side. Taper that up. Okay. Now somewhere down here was a sword sketch, and that wasn't it. Oh, and the pommel. How could I forget the pommel? Very important. Okay, now for the sword. Pommel. I keep saying that, not the pommel. Grip. Relatively straightforward. It's just brown, circular brown. So a little bit of shadowing up by the pommel, shadowing as it rounds around. Shadowing on all edges. I kind of have that stray line hanging out, a couple of them on this side. Okay, and otherwise, on highlight. Making sure it fades in. Pushing that highlight all the way down to his paws, because the highlight's from above, so the paws wouldn't be casting a shadow above. as we bring it over, allowing that to taper off into shadow as it rounds away gently. Okay. Now the rest of it, the crossguard, the ring guard, the pommel, and the sword blade itself are going to be in kind of this silver color, which is really gray, but you know. Okay. So this is a Zweihander. So not all swords are going to have, you know, this sticking out. Not all swords are going to have the ring guard. So some of that is dependent on the type of sword you draw. Long swords would be shorter. Some long swords can have a ring guard. There's also sometimes with long swords a different, you know, you have sort of this catching mechanism, but down here on your shield. But Zweihanders are bigger swords, and so it's a nice tall battlefield weapon as opposed to a long sword, which is more like a dueling weapon. So I'm going to start with the pommel. I'm going to fill this in shadow, and then we'll be adding some highlight. It's metal, so it's going to definitely have some nice bright sheen to it in places. And a bright highlight, a white highlight, much like the cat's eyes do. Being it's metal, it's reflective, so it'd be catching the light. That light source above and to the right, or I'm sorry, above and to the left. Okay, so pommel, have some nice highlight through here. All edges are in shadow. Bringing that highlight over and tapering it off, and under and tapering it off. And then we'll be adding some bright white to it. Okay. And that bright white will help flesh out exactly that, where that highlight's hitting. Okay, now crossguard, pretty straightforward. Do kind of the same thing where I bring this over, try to keep as straight as possible, all in shadow at first. And then that strong highlight catching. Highlight's above, so that highlight needs to be catching above. Above and to the left, which means it would run all the way into the ring guard. Okay, that's one side. Do the other. And I'm going to extend it a little bit. It's not as long as the one on the other side. You know, arts things, that happens, the best of us. Okay. Now, on the left side, right over here, it pushed all the way into the ring guard. On this side, the ring guard would be casting a shadow. Still that harsh highlight though. Just giving a little bit of a gap. And then making sure it's tapered and not a harsh line. Okay. Still don't know that's the same length. No, we're going to push it just a little bit further. Ring guard, it's a loop of metal, right, that comes forward. So there'd be a ring guard on the other side too. But we can't see that side, so we don't worry about that. Okay. Like the others, you're going to have a harsh highlight. But not as much over here, where it'd be going into shadow. Okay. Now blade itself, you're just coming straight down on it. You have a paw over top plus ring guard. So there'd be some shadowing right up at the top. I didn't make this the straightest sword in the world, but when we draw it out, I don't know that it'll be as noticeable. We can fix some of it too. So again, doing kind of all of this in shadow first. All right, so clean up these edges a bit. Do want it nice and sharp though. Might have to clip down some of this as I push the sword down a little bit more, in which case don't want it to be too far forward or back, so the tip of the sword need to line up roughly where I think his arm would be in relation to where the foot is, right? So here's the base, it's right through where you would think, that forward point is pushing, so it looks like it's a good spot. But I wouldn't want it to be, you wouldn't want the sword tip to be way back here or way up here unless he's clearly like leaning way back or pushing way forward. So it's important to remember as you bring your sword tip down or where your sword tip is in relation to the body or the figure. Okay. Now, just like before, we're going to be adding a highlight. I'm going to have it kind of on that side where you would have, you have a dip typically in the middle of a sword. And then we'll have you catching it too. The middle doesn't have to be a perfect middle. In fact, the way light typically bounces around on steel doesn't always end up with this nice, perfect, clearly defined center point, which is why I'm backing off my pin pressure when I hit the middle and folding it just over. Right, and then making sure that's not too dark. Clearly the left side's brighter, but not fully pushing that over. So once again, allowing that to taper. Light does interesting things when it's bouncing around on steel, so it won't always hit in just the way we think it would. Same thing, tapering it off. Just sort of fixing up some of these areas that are a little too dark. All right, now nice and bright. There's a dark spot. I'm just gonna kind of try to get rid of, except all I've done is not full pin pressure here. I'm just, there's a weird, it looks weird when you back out. You don't want it too dark. Yeah. All right. Now we're going to add white to that in select spots. All right, so we'll add a bit of white here where that's hitting. And we'll do some white along here and here and even here. So when we pull back, should get a little extra. We're going to do a little bit down the sword. is how you draw a sword, a Zweihander, for a German Landsknecht cat. Dapper little guy. Alright, so that is how you draw a sword or a Zweihander. I hope that's helpful. In the floating nether next to me, I have other videos of art tutorials I have done, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Take care.